Welcome to Brookline Hub In-Depth. I'm your host, Harvey Bravman, and I'm really excited because we're here with Jessica O'Hearn, who is the Executive Director of the Brookline Arts Center. Welcome, Jessica.
Thank you so much for having me.
I'm really glad to have you here. And before we get into Brookline Arts Center, I know you started in your position just this year. So would love to hear the Jessica O'Hearn story. And uh, I know you were in Boston at one point going to school, and then you went to Albuquerque, Milwaukee, University of Notre Dame. Tell me all Tell me how your journey and how
Yeah,
all roads led to
it's
here.
been a little bit of a journey. So I did go to school in Boston when at the Art Institute of Boston when that was in the Fenway, and then Lesley University, took on that school, and now it's LUCAD over in Cambridge. I graduated in 2006, and then went to Albuquerque to the Tamarind Institute there, and then came back to Boston. My husband and I were here for several years, living in Somerville. At that time, I worked for a wonderful artist named Michael Mazer. It's his piece right here. Um, and then we ended up took this 10-year journey all over the country. So following careers and school, and so we kind of bounced between Wisconsin and Indiana, and then West Virginia was where we moved from recently. So just last year, had our kids in a couple different states, and decided through COVID, after going through the year that everybody has been uh, dealing with, we decided to come back and live near family. So we kind of took a leap there and left our positions, and came back to Lowell, and we're just so happy to be back. It's a wonderful community.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. And um, what's it been like since now you started in your position during a pandemic? What's that experience been like, and what are the challenges that you've
Oh,
had to face?
it's definitely challenging. I mean, it's exciting too. I think as I've talked to a lot of people in other nonprofits, I think there's been people are going through a lot of the same things, right? Staffing challenges, a lot of um, uh, new directors during the pandemic. I've talked to so many other new directors. So we're all kind of diving in at the same time. And I think everybody, after going through whatever challenges you may have had career wise, like leaving your job, being let go from your job, and then looking for something else, I was excited to dive in. I had just had my second child last year. So we were ready for the next step. So I was really, really excited. But then coming in, to a sort of transitional staff, and navigating how to bring programs back in person within months. I mean, that definitely was a little stressful and challenging, but we were able to add some really wonderful key staff people to the BAC, and we were so excited to welcome kids safely to the center this summer, and it was very successful. So it's very motivating also to see all these kids coming back in the center, and adults and teens, and after the year that they've had, they love being back in these in-person classes. So it's really rewarding, and helps keep you going through things that might be more challenging.
Tell us a little about Brookline Arts Center. It's the Art Center, I believe, has been here for about 60 years.
Yeah.
And so, even with that long history, there are still, I think, quite a lot of people who don't know a lot about it. If you could just give us a quick overview.
Sure. Yeah, it has a really sweet, wonderful history. It was started by a couple named Mim and Barney Berliner, and they started art classes in the early 60s out of their basement. And it outgrew their basement. And at that time, the town of Brookline was about to demolish the original Brookline firehouse, which is where we're still housed today. And so Mim and Barney kind of convinced the town to let them turn it into an art center. So they converted it, and it's been an art center since 1968. And it's just had many wonderful directors over the years, and continued to grow. So it grew from art classes to having a gallery program, and then all of these wonderful community partnerships that were started in about the past like 10 years or so. So we just continue to keep growing, and the mission that Mim and Barney had was just to make arts education accessible, and that continues to be our mission today, and what we really strive to do through all of our classes and our partnerships.
There are so many, I don't want to say unknown, but there are so many heroes in Brookline who have never gotten the recognition that they deserved, and in big way, full town recognition. And Mim and Barney are two of those people that if you've mentioned their name, a lot of people wouldn't know who they were, but they've heard of the Brookline Arts Center,
Right.
and they don't realize if these two people don't exist, then the Art Center doesn't exist.
Yeah, and
And
the incredible impact that they've had on so many people. I mean, so we have families that are bringing their kids now. This summer I spoke to so many, and they said, I used to take classes here when I was a kid. So it's just these whole generation has gone by, and people just keep coming back, and that was all started by them. So it is really incredible what they've
now,
done.
before the pandemic, I got a tour of the Brookline Arts Center from the marketing person at that time, who's moved on. And um, I was just, I was partly blown away and partly a little bit embarrassed that it was my first time there. It's on Monmouth Street.
Yeah, we're kind of,
That,
I can see it's kind of tucked away. So we still have people um all the time who come by, and they're like, I've walked by here so many times that I've never popped in, and they've lived in the neighborhood forever. So it's so interesting, like that still happens. But it's so nice that they do discover us. But yeah, we're on Monmouth Street. So we're right adjacent to Monmouth Park. So we rent the building from the town. We have ever since 1968. And so they're a wonderful partner with us, maintaining the park and the grounds, and we sort of maintain the building and keep the classes going. So, and then we have this annex gallery that's right. It's visible from. We're on a corner of Monmouth and St. Mary's, and it's pretty visible from both streets. And so a lot of people will see that and kind of come to the building, and that will kind of draw them in. And so it's nice when people just pop by. Happens pretty frequently.
how can people interact with the center, from classes to attending galleries and things like that?
Well, a great way, I mean, is to follow our social media accounts. We have an Instagram account, and a Facebook account, and Twitter, and then our website always has everything updated, and we have a newsletter, so people can sign up for the newsletter. They'll receive notice of all of our events, all of our gallery events, our openings, our artist talks are always free and open to the public, and then our classes are always listed on the website. We're really close. Hopefully by the end of this week, early next week, we'll be releasing the classes for the winter session, which will start in late January. And yeah, so I'd say the website is always one of the best ways. But every time we do that, we also put out like create brochures and try and distribute them throughout town, create posters. So we try and get word out, in a lot of different ways. Reaching out to schools, specifically the Brookline public school system. So
And you work in concert or in partnership with the Brookline Public School System, an event that we have every year at the Coolidge Corner Theater, the Brookline Youth Awards. We've recognized a lot of students in the autism on the autism spectrum,
mhm.
and who have unique and incredible talents. And I know you work correct with the Brookline school system?
Yeah, yes. I
Uh,
mean, in a lot of different ways. So we have some of our sometimes our teachers will teach in the after school programs at various schools in Brookline, and then we also partner with that bridge program on. We have an art and autism class, and that we were so happy that that just started back up this fall in person. So we have students coming to us once a week, and that'll continue throughout the year. So it's a great, if people aren't aware of that program, it's a program where it's young adults, so age 18 to 22, and they're there. Some of them may have like graduate high school. They're on the verge of that. They're learning sort of some job skills, and they're able once a week to come with their aides, their classroom assistants to take an art class. And that's one of the several programs that we have that are grant funded, so that's at no cost to them.
wow. And you also every year put on the Brookline Open Studios. I think that's once a year, right?
Yeah, yeah. So we
And
had a pause on that during COVID. It was done just virtually, so all the artists were featured on the website. But we just had it in person for the first time. I think it was in 2 years, and it was also the first time it was held completely outdoors. But it went really, really well. So all of the artists, the steering committee, which is made up of a lot of artists at Station Street Studio, were incredibly helpful and supportive of the event, and really spearheaded that. So they're a great partner, and all the artists seem to be really excited to be involved. So we're already planning for next year. So we're planning for next October, and we're hoping to release some more info on that soon. But it's a great way for artists to sell their work, get the word out about their work, and we were able to have some scholarships available for artists. We're hoping to be able to offer that again next year too.
and I know I don't have your website in front of me that there's an event that you're having in December. Is that
A
right?
December
Or
event.
something new happening?
I don't think we have a December event. We're going to be participating in the First Light Festival. So we'll be stationed outside, I believe it's at one of the schools, and I can't quite remember which school we're going to offhand. But we'll be participating in that. But we don't have a December event right now. We have our classes are ongoing through mid-December, but a lot of them are all full. So we don't have anything until we get those winter classes up and running.
Probably the most important question, I think, given how important Brookline Arts Center um, is to the community, is what are the challenges that you're facing now, and how can us as a community help?
Oh, that's a good question. The challenges. I mean, I guess the biggest challenge, although I don't feel too concerned about it, it's just sort of something we've accepted, is our registration um, for kids. We're seeing like a lot of adults are very eager to come back to classes. We still did pretty well this summer, but we're still seeing about maybe 60% of the registration that we did pre-COVID. I think that's kind of across the board. I've even talked to the after school programs for the school system and other organizations. So I think everybody's seeing some lower enrollment. And I mean, that's understandable. I'm a parent myself. I have little ones. I mean, I think people are still a little bit cautious about returning to any after school activities or extracurriculars when we still are in the midst of the pandemic, and kids are still not able to be, fully vaccinated. So I think we'll see those numbers go up, but I think that we're seeing a little bit of a hesitancy there. And I think just like spreading word about what we do. I mean, the best way for people to learn about us is through other parents. So it's like if any parents are watching and they have a good time, like tell other people about it, because we get recommendations. Somebody came to us and they said, "Oh, my friend's child took a class there. They loved it." And like that word of mouth is that's worth a lot. So we can do all the advertising we can, but we need to make sure that those students are having really positive experiences, and then they're talking to other people in the community about those experiences.
And at the end of the show, we're going to give people information on how they can donate to the Brookline Arts Center and help in that way. And I agree with you. I think it's going to take some time. Where um, we have an event that we do every year on January 27th for International Holocaust Remembrance Day, and we had it online last year, and this year we're going to do it in person. And our Brookline Youth Awards, we did at the Coolidge Corner Theater in person, but at that time that only I think 68 people were allowed in the theater, but 68 people were there,
Right.
and we had an outdoor uh, reception before, and we had about 150 people at that. Uh, but different strains of hit, and even planning something for January, it's really hard to know
Yeah. I think that
how
I stopped
people will
trying to
be feeling.
predict, what we could do. I mean, there was a point in the spring, um, when we were trying to figure out how we were going to handle the summer in terms of like what does in-person programming look like right now, and the recommendations or the guidelines that were being put out, just were some at one point they were changing daily. So it's just like you just kind of have to to make the best educated guess for what you can do at your center and what you can offer to the public, and just hope that people will feel safe and want to participate. But it has, I feel like what COVID has done is helped us think. It's always been part of what we think about is how can we be as accessible as possible. um, but it helped us even think about that more. So by starting these virtual programs, we did a bunch of virtual classes over the past year, which did pretty well. So we continue to offer virtual classes, not as many because it doesn't seem like as many people want to participate, but there are still people who are cautious about returning to in person. So we still will offer in person classes, and then every artist talk. We just started back up with artist talks in September, and every one of those will also be live streamed. And we've heard from people, the feedback that we're getting is that is more accessible. So there are people who might not have been able to participate who now can sit and watch that artist talk. So I think some of those things are just here to stay, like just being able to offer another option for people to participate in our programs.
Right. Especially, seniors who, for seniors who getting out are, was always a challenge. And people who have varied lives. I mean, like you go home to a family, and a lot of other people do, and sometimes you only have that small period of time, and to get online is faster
Oh yeah.
than. And if you got your mute on, you can also take care of a kid or two
I
while
have done
doing
it
it.
many times actually. So, pouring pasta and listening to an artist talk, and or listening in on a meeting, and yeah, it's sort of that's what life looks like now, I think.
And this is all necessary stuff. I mean, I think sometimes people like to think of art and art education as something extra, or like an extracurricular activity, but art is really necessary, isn't it, to our
Yeah.
well-being, to the community's well-being, that there's art there and a thriving artistic community. It's not an extra. It's vital and
No.
necessary, isn't it?
It really is. It's really a vital part of education, and like you said, like health and well-being. I mean, you kind of see I see taking art classes, it's like having a tool in your toolbox, right? I mean, this is how you can, especially from a young age, learn how to think creatively. Like creative problem solving is going to be a huge asset for kids as they go on in their education. So it's just a really wonderful thing to this type of extracurricular is a really wonderful thing to incorporate into education.
So you have printing, um, and tell us all the different disciplines of art.
Sure. We have so at the art center we have it's pretty small. It's 2 floors, and we have a multi-purpose studio on each floor, and then we also have a ceramic studio on our first floor, and we have a jewelry studio upstairs. So we have all sorts of classes that run in both of those areas, and those are really popular, and they always fill up pretty quickly. Um, but we also offer a number of different things. So we have drawing and painting and illustration. We have parent-child classes. A lot of them are like, we have classes that are meant for 18 months old to 2 years, and then 2 to 4, and that's an opportunity for families to come together and just work on sensory play and just really have fun together and be creative. So those have been really popular as well, especially on the weekends. These like family art stations. Um, but and then we've had printmaking classes before. We do not have a big press, but we have a little one, and we've offered that for kids and adults. So and then we're always open for proposals from teachers. So we occasionally receive those, and people can reach out to us if they are interested in teaching a class. But with those multi-purpose studios, we can offer quite a variety of classes.
Is there any question that I didn't ask you that I should have asked you, or any more information about the art center, or thoughts that you have that?
I guess the only thing I really want to share is that we do have, I think a lot of people, one, don't really know about us. And they also don't know that we have scholarship opportunities. So we try and share that as much as possible, that people look at our website and they think that it's not within their capacity to take a class or to sign their child up for a class. We have scholarship opportunities, and it's a really simple form on our website. So I encourage people who may have that need and really want to take a class or enroll their child to reach out to us and apply.
Thank you. I really encourage everyone to find a way to interact with the Brookline Arts Center. And if you don't do that, please make a donation, or offer the volunteer, or something that you could do to help. It's so vital, especially now during this pandemic, to support our local nonprofits. Jessica, thanks so much for being on, and really look forward to hearing more from the Brookline Arts Center in the future.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Danielle Myers of ADW Video Productions and BrooklineHub.com. BrooklineHub.com is a 501c3 nonprofit online publication dedicated to community building through local reporting and events. Brookline Facing Civil Rights was produced by our founder, Harvey Bravman. The film is about the experiences of African Americans who helped break the wall of segregation that existed in Brookline before the civil rights laws were passed in the 1960s. Last year, the film sold out the Coolidge Corner Theater and included a panel discussion on inclusivity. You can stream the film and the discussion on BrooklineHub.com in exchange for a donation to the Brookline Community Foundation's Safety Net Fund. You can also stream Soul Witness, a film that features interviews with Brookline Holocaust survivors conducted 30 years ago, on soulwitness.org. For the last 11 years, Harvey has been interviewing outstanding teens as part of an event held at the Coolidge called the Brookline Youth Awards. The Brookline Youth Awards are an opportunity for Brookline residents to hear about the character, challenges, and dreams of its young people, as well as adults dedicated to their success through the power and intimacy of video interviews.